Hey, hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. My name is Angelo and today this video is going to be about me talking to you in this little setup that I have. I just made this video for my Spanish channel. However, that is going to be about video games in general. But because this is my tech channel, right? I do the same videos on my Spanish, but I think it's broader a spectrum of information. While here I have tried to keep it for graphics and tech. Okay, what I wanted to speak today is something that I've been seeing, especially in the English community. That is how I don't know. I don't know what the word. I don't want to be very hard with this, but I think the tech community is being very toxic recently. Okay, why do I talk? What I'm trying to say here is the conversation that I see around, and I see many channels, big channels, and other things talking about, seems to be like, I don't know, not fun at all. You know what I mean? So how do I explain what I want to say? There has been recently information about a situation that Intel is living, where it seems that some motherboard have to the power limits are set too high, which is causing the chips to not perform very well because they get too hot or something around those lines. To be honest, I haven't been following exactly the situation, but what I have been following is something of what the talk is around that and the aftermath, right? And it seems like you can be on Twitter following tech channels without having these tweets and videos on YouTube about how some people seem to focus so much on bashing and trashing one brand over another. Like, for example, somebody saying Intel shouldn't do this, or this is burning motherboards, and then somebody else, oh, you forget that AMD did this and did that, right? Like, well, I don't think he's forgetting that. He's talking about Intel now. It's not because AMD was doing that, then Intel is fine to also do it, or one has to be, forgiven because the other is also doing it. It's like every time the conversation about brand and Intel or AMD CPUs comes, there is always like, oh, the 4900K is the best CPU for gaming, and you are just a AMD fanboy or you're Intel fanboy, and the conversation goes around this more than around the product itself and makes people not even understand what they should do. What is the fastest CPU, for example, right now? I don't have an answer for that. Unfortunately, I am nobody, and no brand will send me their CPU. So everything I have, I buy myself. So because I haven't tested them, I can tell you which one it is, because I would be lying. I have personally a 7950X3D for my computer, and I have also 3700X from AMD for my second PC, which is the PC that I have connected to my 4K TV, which I use for emulation and for any games that I want to play over there, which has a 4070 Ti. But I also have my test bench, that it was my previous CPU, which is a 13700K, which I think is a great CPU, and I have no issue. I have been recommended for months Intel GPU, the Arc 750, because at the time I thought it was the best CPU for the money at some point. And the thing is that when for example, the RTX 4090 came to market, we know what happened. There were a lot of, oh, the cable is burned, things are burning, 4090s are not good, and so on, right? And so the problem with that is not that that is happening, which is the conversation around it. Because then all people want that to be true. People want that the RTX 4090 are actually burning and that each one of them is going to die. And the reason they want this is just because they want to say Nvidia is bad and AMD is good. And I don't know what's worse, the fact that you're trying to, simp a company, or the fact that you are honestly wishing on people spending their hard-earned money on PC parts that they may have saved for years to burn just because you hate a company or you want to prove a point that at the end of the day, it's not going to bring anything to you. And we see this over and over again. For example, when the 7900 XT or XTX came, there were people betting and hoping that they were going to be worse than Nvidia, just to say, I knew so, you see, they are worse. And what do we get out of these situations? Absolutely nothing. I do have an RTX 4090, but I wish, to be honest, that AMD had better ray tracing, a better FSR solution, and so on, because all that is going to do is bring more competition. The moment you have a brand that is not able to compete with another, so the things that we are seeing are happening. I mean, higher prices because I can, because nobody's doing it as good as I am, and so on. And yes, I am part of the problem because I'm buying an RTX 4090 instead of a cheaper 7800 XT, which is going to play all my games just fine. But the problem is I want to play on the best of the best. And unfortunately, that is the RTX 4090, because I do love ray tracing. I do like ray tracing. And Nvidia is the best at doing ray tracing at the moment, and Nvidia is the best at doing DLSS or reconstruction. I wish FSR was much better, and I hope the new update will bring that to the table, because that is good not just for AMD but also for everybody. Every time I test a GPU that doesn't support DLSS, I use FSR, and I think it's an amazing technology, and I have always talked good about it. For example, one of the things I did recently was I think the GTX 1060 the most legendary NVIDIA GPU was the title of my video. And even then, people came attacking me, saying that I am defending NVIDIA, that is not the most legendary GPU, that it was the RX 580, and that I am, helping with the conversation, or with the, trying to skew the conversation towards NVIDIA is better. To begin with, my video is called the most legendary NVIDIA GPU, not the most legendary GPU ever. And I made it for a reason. I call it that for a reason, because I was expecting people to understand. But even then, people came attacking me because apparently I am an NVIDIA fanboy, even though I have an AMD CPU and I have tested many AMD GPUs on my channel, saying to people that they should buy them, like the RX 6800, which is probably one of my most popular videos on this channel, and I have recommended that GPU to everyone. But the problem that I'm trying to focus, and I'm going to try to explain now, is that when the conversation goes instead around the bushes and around the problems and why things are not good, or why AMD is failing and Intel is failing, and why AMD or Intel and so on, and they forget about the product itself. And that's something that I have been trying to avoid in this channel, and that's why even when I talk about the RTX 4060, I did say, well, these are the problems, okay? Yes, it should have 12 gig. Yes, it should do this, but the problem is we can be talking about all day about what they are not, but we forget to talk about what they are. So we need to focus on what they are and explain to people, because there are going to be people, no matter how much maybe nobody should buy the RTX 4060 ever, and that car should not have even one sold in his entire lifetime. But that's not going to happen. There are people that are going to buy new PCs, people that are going to buy new GPUs, people that need to upgrade, to replace, and so on, and they are going to go to the market with some money, and they are say, what is the best that I can buy with this money right now, new? And then you have to explain to them what is the 4060. And they have to decide for themselves, but you have to tell them, look, this is only 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but that doesn't mean you're not going to play. But you have to make some sacrifices, and this is what you're going to get if you are willing to do those sacrifices. Because maybe the car is overpriced. Okay, that's fine, the car is overpriced, but what alternative is out there? That's the problem. Okay, you can show them, well, you can buy also an Intel Arc 750, but then the Intel Arc 750, for a person that is not computer knowledgeable, it's going to have other issues, because maybe then he starts a DirectX 9 game or some other thing and it doesn't perform as well as his friend computer, and say, but this car is supposed to be faster, why is performing like this? And how do you explain to this person? And they need to have resizable board active. How do they even know if they have it? So these sort of things, yes, you can explain to them, But at the end of the day, maybe they just want to spend their $300 on a GPU that they put in and just complain. And that's it. So we need to focus on what it is and not what is not, because this is the reality we live. And by creating a fight between AMD or but when you criticize a product and you say, well, like I think Hardware Unboxed did recently, where and somebody on Twitter was arguing with them because what they said is that motherboard manufacturers shouldn't do something, and it was about the fact that some middle entry level motherboard, apparently the VRMs are not capable of managing like high-end CPUs, and they shouldn't do that, in the sense that if you're selling a board that is a specific socket, and you don't, if the VRMs only support like up to an i5, and you don't say that specifically, they shouldn't even support higher CPUs, because why would you support a CPU that has a TDP of 250 watts if your VRM are good only for 125? You're going to create a bottleneck, you're going to burn the motherboard, you're going to damage the CPU, but something is going to happen, right? So they were saying this, and then there was this person answering them with the, oh yeah, but you forget that AMD was actually burning CPUs when they had, because that the 7950 or some of the models had this issue where some Asus motherboard, I believe, were actually burning the CPU because apparently the voltage was, and I don't understand why saying one thing about this needs to be reminded that AMD also did something. So, and that's the problem, because now the discussion is going around on what the two things that, instead of, okay, but what's the solution? So I should buy what sort of motherboard? Is AMD fixed now? So or do I need to buy a specific motherboard? The RTX 4090 issue, I have one from day one. I'm still using the Octopus issue. I have the cable. You can call it an issue for many, and I had no problems whatsoever so far. It's going fine. Does it mean that nobody's having problems with it? No. Sure, I'm sure that there were some cables that were damaged, but I am also sure that some people just didn't put it correctly. Okay? So if all the conversation goes is to scare people, then don't buy the product because this is wrong. You're not, the people doing this are not doing it because they genuinely want to, avoid people from spending their money there. But also you're creating a conversation where you are not actually giving solutions or telling people or avoiding, if they need or want that GPU, they may skip buying it for something that they may not want that much, but that is supposed to be safer. So I don't know. I feel like I like my channel to be like a nice, happy place, to call it in a way. It's a place for fun, where tech is seen as a fun thing to have, no matter what brand, and that all the options we have are there for us to take advantage of them. FSR, the GPU, the 6700 XT with 16 gigs of VRAM, the 4060 Ti, whatever is, if you can buy it or you are going to buy it, then I don't want to make you guilty of buying something because, oh, you didn't, you had to. I want to inform you. I want to give you the tools, the information that make yourself take good decisions. But what is a good decision will depend a lot on your own situation. Because for many, the 4060 Ti maybe is not worth it because the 4070 costs $5 more. But maybe for some, the 4070 costs $400 more. So the 4060 in that case becomes a really interesting option. It will depend on everyone's situation. So I think what is important is at the end of the day, it's not about if you buy AMD or Intel, or if you bought a 14900K instead of a 1700 X3D because this is faster. It's about you being happy with what you bought because you bought it knowing all the things that you had to know. You did the best decisions you could with the money you had in your country, with the options you had. And that at the end of the day, instead of some people trying to show that you are better or worse than other people because of your decision, that you end up happy with your decisions and enjoy them. Okay? Because I think that's the most amazing thing, is to enjoy your technology. You know, when you get home and you put all your computer together and then you start seeing those games running now with ray tracing or 120 FPS, all those things, that you start marveling at these new technologies, or that you can do your job in half the time you used to, and you feel good about the things you bought, because now you say, oh, this took me 10 minutes before, I can do it in 5 now. That's when you feel satisfaction for what you bought, and you are so happy that you did. Because if you follow all the hate and conversation that there is on the network, you will have probably not bought anything. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope, you know, this is just a rant video, essentially, reflective video if you want. But yeah, I just wanted to ventilate a little bit, because it's frustrating that you go to the internet and to check, and there's, you know, this whole toxic conversation around every band, around everything that is happening with technology nowadays. So for me, it's always exciting, and very, very exciting to see what the end of the year will bring in terms of new GPUs for AMD and for Nvidia, and new CPUs and all of that, and the Switch 2 coming next year, and the PlayStation 5 Pro, and new TVs and everything. I wish I had so much money. I will be buying all of them, bringing you all the reviews and bringing you the reasons why you should buy some things or not buy some things, okay? But that you don't feel bad about whatever decision you take, okay? So thank you very much. As I always, see you on the next video.